Adobe Accessibility Checker, Accessibility in Practice, Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the Adobe Acrobat Accessibility Checker. In this stage, I have successfully downloaded my Google Doc as a Word document and saved it as an accessible PDF. With my accessible PDF open on my screen, I can see I have all my accessibility tags, and I know I have alt text on my photos because I had alt text in my Word document or my Google document photos. So I'm just going to run an automatic checker to see if it can tell me that there's anything I need to work on to improve my accessibility. This is really a useful tool in Adobe and can really help us just make sure we didn't forget anything. Before we move forward, I want to make sure you have the accessibility tool in your toolbar. It's called Accessibility, and it's a purple icon with a person with their arms and legs sticking out, almost like the Da Vinci symbol. If it's not in your toolbar, it's really easy to add by going to the Tools tab on the top of Adobe Acrobat Pro, and then scrolling down towards the bottom under Protect and Standardize, and it's at the very end. And instead of clicking Open, click the little arrow menu, drop-down menu next to it, and you'll want to select Add Shortcut. That will add it to your Tools shortcut on the right-hand side of Adobe. Once it's added to your shortcut, you can select that tool at any time to use it, just like any of your other tools. Now that we have that out of the way, I'm going to go back to my document, and I'm going to select the Accessibility tool. In my Accessibility tool, I am going to select the check mark called Accessibility Check. A pop-up window will appear. Under Report Options, you can select the Create Accessibility Report check. That will make sure that the report actually shows up and tells you what the results are. So I do want to make sure that is selected. Another option is to attach the report to this document. Some people include that as part of their document creation process, is before they post it online or share it with a group, they run the report and send it through as a quality assurance measure. But if you don't want the report attached as an extra page on your document, do not select that checkbox. I also want to make sure that the report runs on all of my pages in my document. So under page range, I've selected the radio button, all pages in document. But if I'm working on a really long document and I want to only check a specific portion of it, I could select the radio button, pages from, and select the page range that I want to check instead. Next, under checking options, I have a couple of options that I can set. So under category, I have selected document. Now there are other options in here as well. I can select page content. I can also ask it to only check forms, tables, and lists, if that's what I'm mostly curious about. And I can also ask it, hey, make sure just to check the alternate text and headings. So there's a couple of things that we can do, but since I want to check everything in my document, I'm going to select Document. In my checkboxes, in order to run a full check, I want to make sure all of my checkboxes are checked. This includes Accessibility Permission flag is set, Document is not image-only PDF, Document is tagged PDF, Document structure provides a logical reading order, text language is specified, document title is showing in title bar, bookmarks are present in large documents, and document has appropriate color contrast. The reason these are all important is because these are things I should check before I start my accessibility test. These are things that require manual checking and are not possible for the accessibility auto checker to check because it's not a human being. For instance, it can't check whether or not it's an image-only PDF. If it is an image-only PDF, it can't really check the accessibility. If it isn't tagged, it means that it can't check the tags. It also can't check if it provides a logical reading order because only humans can tell if something is logical. It also can't tell if the document language is a good document, is the correct document language, or if the document title is the correct title. So you want to make sure you check those as well. And it can't tell whether or not the document is a long document because that's subjective and is something that only the author can tell. So if there should be bookmarks, that's something that you as the author should decide. And then also color contrast is not something that this auto checker will check for you. Color contrast must be checked manually using our color contrast checker, which we have discussed in previous videos. Next, the last checkbox is show this dialog when the checker starts. That's to make sure the report shows up once we are completed with the check and shows us the results. So if we're ready, let's go ahead and push the Start Checking button. Okay, it found some issues, it looks like. On our left-hand pane, it has Accessibility Checker. And under each topic, it'll give you some results. And each topic is expandable. So the topics that are on here are document, page content, forms, alternate text, tables, lists, and headings. Those should sound familiar because those were the topics we could choose from when reviewing the document. So I'm going to first look at document. It says accessibility permission flag, that's passed. It's not an image-only PDF, that is passed. It is tagged, as we know, that has passed. It has a question mark on logical reading order, needs manual check. Like I said before, it's always going to share a question mark on manual check items like logical reading order, and it also shows down on color contrast as well. And we have to make sure that we do check those manually, as this auto checker will not check those. So it's just reminding us, ooh, just make sure you check those yourself. We do have two red X's next to primary language and title, and it says those have failed. Oh no! So in order to fix it, we can right-click and select Fix, and it will take us to a dialog box to fix the issue. So the first thing I want to fix is the primary language. It already identified English as my auto profile language, and since this document is in English, I am going to select OK because that's correct. And as soon as I fixed it, it changed my report checker to passed because I fixed the issue. Next, I'm going to go to title. I'm going to right-click that and fix it. Okay. I can either leave the title as is, which is blank, but I don't want to do that because it hasn't passed. So I'm going to insert a title, Progress Report for the unit. And then I'm going to select OK. And once I've done that, again, my issue has now been resolved and my title has now passed. Beautiful. Now I have no other issues in my document, as this document is not long enough to have the need for bookmarks. I'm going to minimize document and go into page content. It says that I have tagged content, which is true, that's passed. I don't have any annotation, so that automatically passed. The tab order is consistent, so that passed. Character encoding is passed. Tagged multimedia, I don't have any videos or audio, so that automatically passed. I don't have anything that causes a screen flicker or flashing, so that also passed. I don't have any scripts or app scripts that need to be checked, so that has also passed. And there's no timed responses that also need to be passed, but I do have one navigation link that is descriptive and that has also passed. Under forms, I don't have any form fields, so that is also passed. I do have alternate text. So those all have passed because they've all been identified, they're associated with content, and they all have alternate text. It looks like under my tables, I do have one issue. So all my table rows have passed. I have table headers and table data, which have passed, but it looks like it has an issue with my headers. Uh-oh, let's see what it's talking about. So I'm going to right click on my element, my headers failed element, and I want to see what the issue is. I can right click and go to explain. It says under headers, for accessibility, it's necessary that all tables in the PDF have a header. So if I go back to my document, I'm looking at my element, and I want to see the content in my tags panel. Where's my table? Here it is. So it looks like I haven't tagged my header tags as headers, which I need to fix. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. They should be THs and not TDs. All right, so now that I've fixed that, I should be able to go back to my accessibility check by going to accessibility check and start checking. And now I have one less element where there used to be 3. I would continue going back and fixing my table headers to make sure that those headers passed. Under summary, there is a caution symbol, and this is not a required accessibility feature, but it is a recommendation that you can provide a summary or a description of your table which adds additional accessibility. Again, it's not required, which means it has not been logged as an accessibility issue, but it's something that adds additional accessibility. There are no issues under my list items, which is great, and there's no issues for my headings because they all have appropriate nesting structure. So now that if I've completed my headers, I will have a clean bill of health for my accessibility checker and know that the automatic checks are completed. But as I said before, I want to make sure that I go back and check my logical reading order and I check my color contrast, which are necessary before I completely make sure that my document is fully accessible. And that's the accessibility checker. Find more videos on our YouTube channel at CDLE_DLSS.